It's an honor to be able to provide testimony this morning. And we agree, like the other speakers, that we need overhaul of the system. Just have to make a few specific issues I'd like to address today. And Your Honors, I will try to keep my comments brief. On behalf of Legal Services of New Jersey, the coordinating and supporting agency for the system of legal services in the state of New Jersey, we appreciate this opportunity. In addition to providing legal assistance in civil matters to folks who are low income, we also operate the Poverty Research Institute. And that is to bring awareness to the issues that impact people living in poverty in the state of New Jersey. Let me be clear about one point. The rate of criminal convictions in jury service are issues which disproportionately affect low-income people and people of color. The data shows that that impact falls squarely on these affected groups. We understand that the judiciary has a unique opportunity during this conference to engage and to address racial discrimination and bias in the jury selection process and in our courts generally. And to take on that challenge, initially posed in Andujar. As stated by Dr. Glaude, once again, I'd like to lift up, as he put it so eloquently, to be as deliberate in dismantling racial injustice as we were in our efforts to create it. And dismantling may prove to be the easier task, right? Building back a recreation of a system that is truly fair, unbiased, and results in a Sixth Amendment jury of one's peers, representative of a cross-section of society, will be challenging. With that charge, our remarks today will focus on rebuild of that process for jury selection, which includes many facets beyond the number or type of peremptory challenges, and how those challenges are made. As important and crucial as these issues are, they are but one piece of the building block needed to overhaul a system which will be designed to produce the constitutionally required fair and impartial jury to ensure equal access to justice and fairness in the system. While legal services does not represent individuals in criminal matters, the impact of justice involvement reaches far and wide and affects fundamental civil rights. Far too many people have criminal records which hold them back from lawful pursuits in our society. Legal Services has been working for decades to improve the rights of citizens who re-enter society after incarceration or interactions with the justice system. In my role as Chief Counsel of Reentry at LSNJ, I have observed firsthand the negative impact of collateral consequences on those with criminal convictions and juvenile records, and even on those with lesser contacts in the justice system. It's been widely reported that 1 out of 3 adults has a record of arrest or conviction. And across the US, Blacks and people of color are arrested at rates 2 to 3 times higher than their white counterparts. On average, Black people are incarcerated at nearly 6 times the rate of whites. They are subject to stricter sanctions and punishments than their white American counterparts and are more likely to be arrested and convicted for minor drug offenses despite usage at similar rates. Here in New Jersey, 61%, almost 2/3 of the Department of Corrections inmate population is Black, despite Blacks comprising about 14% of the general population. I'd like to go back on that and repeat it again. 61%, nearly 2/3 of the Department of Corrections inmate population is Black, despite Blacks comprising only 14% of the general population. And while the numbers are troubling, the story doesn't end with these contacts. Individuals with past criminal justice involvement face barriers that prevent them from full participation in society and are often denied employment, they're denied housing, and other opportunities simply due to the existence of a past record. This includes in New Jersey, the permanent bar to participate in the system, which is responsible for imposing those barriers. These lost opportunities not only affect the individuals, but includes their partners, their children, their families, the communities in which they live, and society as a whole. Again, similar to the original justice involvement itself, negative consequences stemming from justice involvement also fall more harshly on Blacks and people of color. As observed in our LSNJ's recent True Poverty Report, numerous institutions such as the criminal justice system too often fail to equally serve and protect people of color. For example, one of the most frequent areas in which a record of arrest or conviction can create devastating barriers is employment. And according to one national study, simply having a criminal record can reduce the likelihood of a job offer or even a callback by approximately 50%. It found that a majority of employers probably or definitely would not hire applicants who had criminal records. In another study, it was found that having a record decreased the chances of employment for all applicants, and Black people with criminal records fared far worse than whites in terms of landing a job. Despite New Jersey's ban the box law, which restricts employers from considering an applicant's record until after the initial employment application process, job seekers continue to face barriers with respect to employment in New Jersey. We have seen the real consequences in the lives of our legal services clients. One client was denied employment as a security guard due to a decades-old drug-related disorderly persons conviction. Another client was denied a job at a public charter school despite a long work history and certificates of rehabilitation from his past offenses. And numerous clients have been denied work at the airport because of past criminal convictions. The impact of repeated barriers to participate in society and being denied fair, full, and equal opportunities because of a past criminal record needs to be viewed from the perspective of those who have denied that participation. Knowing that laws pose legal barriers on one's ability to truly participate in society, such as getting and maintaining a job, or being told that once convicted, you will never be fit to sit with others on a jury, can be devastating. It is yet another form of othering, which is manifest even in the language of ex-con, felon, offender. In New Jersey, individuals who are currently incarcerated for criminal offenses do not have the right to vote. And those who have been convicted of a crime are forever deprived of the right to serve on a jury. These blanket bans operate permanent and inflexible barriers which don't take into consideration any circumstances, the nature or the severity of the offense, the length of time passed since the offense, or an individual's rehabilitation. It fails to consider the person. It has no real basis or rationale, and based on the data reported earlier, in New Jersey, the result is ultimately exclusion of people of color. It is precisely these types of absolute categorical barriers and bars which may be subject to legal challenges, particularly when they affect fundamental rights, are overbroad, or are racially discriminatory. We applaud the court's decision in Andujar, as well as this conference and the creation of this committee, for the stakes are high. To meet the ideal created by the constitutional right to a fair and impartial jury free from discrimination necessitates the creation of a system that eliminates disqualifications from jury service due to race. We believe, consistent with speakers from day one, that this begins with the selection of the jury pool. Several suggestions have already been made in various forums: unemployment, receipt of welfare, non-driver's license, state-issued IDs, and we offer up additional unintended exclusions, and especially the repeal of the ban on those with criminal convictions. In excluding those who have criminal convictions from the jury pool, it effectively spoils the constitutionally protected right of countless criminal defendants from ever receiving a jury of their peers. The mere fact of a criminal conviction or incarceration should not preclude an individual of the obligation and the right to vote or to serve on a jury. And arguably, those who have encountered firsthand the criminal justice system may be among the best situated to participate on juries and help ensure fairness and treatment of those subject to the criminal justice system and help inform the process. Suggestions aimed to reduce the financial hardships to those who may otherwise be able and willing to serve on a jury have also already been made. The data here is also compelling. In the high-cost state of New Jersey, according to the True Poverty Report, where poverty is defined as the dollar amount necessary to avoid deprivation of basic needs, nearly 1/3 of the state's population lives in poverty. Starkly, of the nearly 2.9 million people living in poverty in this state, 54% are Hispanic, 49% are Black, compared to 24% white. When looking at households with children, the numbers are greater. The loss of income is only the beginning. Individuals working in lower income jobs tend to be hourly wage jobs for which there is no pay for no work, are less likely to be paid by employers and more likely to be threatened with the loss of their job if they are absent from work for whatever reason. The pandemic also showed us that essential workers, also often low income paying jobs, cannot be called away from their occupations without significant disruption to society. In addition to the loss of income, there are transportation, parking, and caregiver costs and logistical issues, especially for single female-headed households, as noted, disproportionately Black and people of color. As noted, these financial hardships alone have the potential to exclude nearly 1/3 of New Jersey's population. The solutions offered here and elsewhere have included the increase in the rate of pay for jurors, potential for childcare subsidies, and others. Legal services also suggest that transportation and parking costs can be considered as well. And when looking at pay rates, a flat rate to all jurors across the state may not yield the desired results. As the true poverty report shows, factors such as the number and age of children in household and county of residence create significant differences in needs. So the time is running short. One last point. L.S.J. applauds the efforts the court has made in raising and addressing the issues of implicit bias, especially for the training it will offer jurors. We do believe that this is the beginning, and that understanding the true nature of implicit bias leads us to take further steps to approaching this troubling issue. And we are now at a pivotal moment in history where faith in the judicial system and the principles of fairness and equity will either be raised up or brought further into question. And we agree with the principles in Andujar. The criminal justice system, quote, rests on having cases decided by impartial jurors who are drawn from a representative cross-section of the community and selected free from discrimination. To give meaning to those principles, we must acknowledge that discrimination can infect the jury selection process, and we must take steps to address that serious problem. Legal Services is willing to work in order to help make these changes. Thank you very much for the opportunity.